Hey, good Monday morning, everybody. BAM Weather Meteorologist Brett Waltz here, giving you a long-range forecast update, guys. I hope y'all are doing well this morning. Hope y'all had a good holiday weekend, and of course, I wanted to start out by making a note, thoughts and prayers, of course, with everybody affected by the fatal flooding, the catastrophic flooding across parts of Texas. Certainly keeping those folks in our prayers, and more flooding with Tropical Storm Chantel that hit the Carolinas over the weekend, and more flooding there as well. And so certainly across the southern and southeastern part of the country, it's been very active from a flooding standpoint. The good news is, if we take a look at the radar this morning, it's a little bit quieter, especially out in the Carolinas, but you can see all those flood warnings still in effect this morning with the rivers in that region. Unfortunately, we do have additional heavy rain in parts of Texas this morning. You can see where some of those flood warnings are. This is, again, just northwest of Austin and Round Rock, Texas. And if we take a look here at the observed rainfall over the past 7 days in these areas, I mean, guys, just insane amounts of rain have fallen, nearing 20 inches in spots just northwest of Austin. You can see further out to the west, 18 inches here, and again, more rain falling this morning. And what a difference between the central part of Texas and the eastern part of Texas. Eastern parts of Texas here, some areas getting skipped out completely over the last 7 days, while, of course, central part of the state dealing with the extreme flooding concerns. And so, again, continuing to keep an eye on the forecast down there for additional threats. Taking a look at the ag belt, guys, further up to the north, you can see there have been plenty of rainfall opportunities over the past 7 days, but as we have highlighted at length throughout this month and throughout the end of June, the theme would be messy, and you can see it just with this map. There's no real good organization in terms of the rainfall totals the past 7 days. It's a very messy look. I will say areas that have been skipped out a little bit more consistently, parts of the northern Ohio Valley and into the Great Lakes. I think that's an area that we need to watch with some interest ahead, given that area will also see warmer than normal temperatures. Further to the north and to the west, where a lot of corn grown across northern Iowa, southern Minnesota, plenty of rain in here for most spots. Same thing for much of Nebraska, but again, even out here in the plains where it's been a little bit more widespread, there are spots that have been skipped over. It's just that very have and have not type of a pattern, and we're probably going to see more of that ahead. If we zoom in here, we look at the next 7 days in terms of rainfall. Again, I think the plains, you're in a pretty good spot for moisture, but you can even see on this map parts of Kansas, parts of Missouri, parts of Iowa here. There are some spots that will end up a little bit lower, a little bit locally lower. In terms of areas that will probably see less moisture in general, parts of Michigan, northern Indiana, maybe northern Illinois, northern Ohio. This is an area, again, that has verified a little bit lower as of late, and the indications here are not as notable as areas further down to the south and to the west. And so, again, this is an area that I'm kind of monitoring as we roll things forward ahead, because temperatures, they are warmer than normal. They're not extreme. Again, guys, next 7 days, we're not looking at extreme heat, but you're a solid 2 to 4, 2 to 5 degrees hotter than normal across the Ohio Valley, parts of the Great Lakes, and into the northeastern United States over the next 7 days. How does that roll forward into the week 2 time frame? Well, the trend has been to back off the more notable heat a little bit. Data had it. If you go back to a couple of runs ago, data was starting to get more aggressive with that idea. Latest runs have backed off a little bit more. I'm going to explain why here in a little bit. But regardless, you're still looking at this period that we've been talking about at a hotter than normal pattern. This is a solid 3 to 6 degrees hotter than normal across parts of the Northeast, the Ohio Valley, Great Lakes, and into parts of the Midwest. Now, I would say that the risk for more notable heat, more extreme heat, has lowered a little bit. But the hotter than normal pattern we've been advertising still looking to be there, albeit maybe a tick further east, if anything. So just kind of an update there on that signal. And in terms of precipitation, a lot of similarities to the week 2 precipitation forecast to week 1. You're going to have this flow up into the plains. You'll have moisture opportunities. It will probably be messier in nature. If there's an area that verifies a little bit lower, again, parts of the Ohio Valley and the Great Lakes. If we take a look here, again, here's your 7-day rainfall. I want to look at the soil moisture percentile. There is a region in here guys, that has gotten drier over the past several weeks. Parts of central and northern Illinois, northern Indiana, into parts of northwest Ohio and Michigan, this is an area that has not seen as widespread or as frequent moisture opportunities. Now, there's spots that have in here gotten locally higher amounts. There's no doubt about that, but it's been just a little bit less consistent. And so I do want to keep in mind that ahead, it's warmer than normal. It's seasonable to even slightly drier than normal in general. And so, there's probably not going to be a ton of improvement in these areas. You look further out to the west, probably continue to see some improvement across parts of Missouri, across parts of Nebraska, and South Dakota. In general, I don't see major red flags continuing out in the Central Plains and into parts of the upper Midwest. All things considered, should be plenty of rain opportunities and timely rains in the forecast ahead. Let's kind of break this down with the overall pattern over the next few weeks, guys, and kind of determine what's driving this overall pattern. So you can see here, guys, we are building in the tendency for a ridge in the eastern part of the country. However, what's starting to happen, this ridge on the west has turned a little bit stronger. We're forcing down some storm systems and some cold fronts across the plains. Again, that will keep it active and probably a little bit more seasonable to at times even slightly cooler. But after the storm passes, the ridge and the warmth builds back in east, keeping things hotter than normal before we get the next one to come in. You can see if there's a time frame where there could be maybe more widespread above normal temperatures, it would be towards the end of the week 2 time frame, 18th, 19th, 20th or so, with warmth especially across the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, and into the northeast part of the country. But again, guys, just because of the tendency here to see some of this ridging in the west, even with this signal that we've talked about east, it's just going to limit how intense heat can actually get. Do I think it's hot? Yes. Have not changed that call. Have stuck with it, but I am getting more skeptical that it's extreme or notable heat. I still think overnight lows can be quite warm, but are they record-breaking? Maybe not as consistently as what we had initially thought. So that's kind of the breakdown of where we are. It's not a major change. It's just maybe not as notable as we had initially anticipated. Taking a look here at the upper level pattern heading into the the week 3 period, overall, again, I still think this is a mild period. I still think this is a hotter period out through the 22nd, 23rd of the month or so. I will say, if you take a look at the next 14 days, again, you can see where most consistently it's warm east, warm west, a little bit more seasonable in the middle. Wouldn't be shocked to see some slight warmer trends across the northern plains and the upper Midwest. And again, next 14 days, more active in the central part of the country, drier the western third of the country, messier, less widespread, Ohio Valley, Great Lakes, and into the interior northeast. And this is kind of the best way that I could break it down for you all. If you're in this red area west, hotter than normal and probably drier than normal. If you're in this green area, you have those cold fronts. It's pretty active as a whole. It's not super hot, all things considered. If you're in this orange area in the east, you're hotter than normal. There's probably rain chances around, though. If there's an area that can get locally drier, it's in this red highlighted area I've circled for parts of the Ohio Valley and into the Great Lakes, which again, there are some spots in there that it's already getting a little bit drier. So that is perhaps one spot to watch with some dry concerns ahead. In terms of just what's driving this pattern, I still think the ocean feedback is doing a lot and doing a number on the overall pattern. We have a big area of warmth in here, and I think it's reinforcing this ridge of high pressure in the eastern part of the country. Well, what about the west coast? There's a ridge out there too. Well, you take a look at the above normal sea surface temperatures here. I think you're getting a little bit of feedback in this area from that as well, which is forcing cold fronts at times into the middle of the country and also keeping the middle of the country active. I think this is also perhaps a reason that the eastern U.S. heat ahead isn't as notable as initially thought. This is another factor. Starting to pick up tropical activity in the West Pacific. The first system went west towards Taiwan and towards China here, which is historically a warm signal. But then this next one that we're keeping an eye on, it's a big mess right now, just to be completely honest. Some data trying to recurve it, which historically is a little bit of a cooler signal. This is something that we'll need to watch very carefully beyond the 22nd or 23rd of the month. You can kind of see the signal here in East Asia. Need to watch for some kind of a cold front in here around the 22nd, 23rd, 24th of the month or so. There's also some support that shortly beyond that time frame, the last week of July, the pattern could start to get a little bit cooler. If we take a look here, we're finally starting to see data indicate the potential for the MJO to come back alive. Phase 5 here is a hotter phase. And so, again, through probably the 20th, 21st, 22nd of the month, we should have forcing that favors some hotter than normal conditions. Again, that hasn't changed. What we do need to watch, and what actually we have mentioned, is that maybe the end of July could get a little bit cooler, could moderate a little bit. If we go through phases 6, 7, and 8 of the MJO, it certainly will get cooler. Here's a look at the July phase 6. You can see it's certainly a cooler signal. And then feeling 7 and 8 and into early August, overall, core of the heat here would be more so in the Pacific Northwest. You can see that here. See that here. More seasonable to probably even a little bit cooler for the ag belt. And so, I think based off of that signal, and you can see some of the weekly data, the end of July to start August, based off of this, I think that there's the potential that the ag belt, and especially the eastern ag belt, could see a little bit of a pattern change late July into early August. The eastern ag belt's been very warm overall. If there's a time frame where it can moderate and cool down, I think it's at the end of July and into the start of August based off of these signals. What does that mean in terms of precipitation? Well, you put the core of the ridge in the western part of the country, it's going to get dry here across the Canadian prairies, probably across parts of the northern plains. Maybe a little bit less active across the plains. Some messy storm cluster risks will remain possible. More active across parts of the eastern belt and down through the deep south. And so, again, need to keep an eye on this potential shift happening at the end of July and into the start of August to a little bit of a cooler pattern and perhaps one that's not quite as active across parts of the plains. We'll keep an eye on it. Again, that's still 3.5, 4 weeks out or so until that would happen. Until then, again, I think the week 2 time frame, start of week 3, does feature some heat across the eastern ag belt. Not as notable, though, across the plains. Thanks, guys, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.